Viewing.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good evening. My name is Faisal Kassim and welcome to Live Roll Talk. Exactly 17 minutes past 8 o'clock, and we're here tonight to talk about the next Chief Kadhi. This is a position that started conversation at least 2 years ago, immediately after the commemoration or the confirmation of the current Chief Justice, Justice Martha Koome. The whole debate and the conversation about the new or the next Chief Justice started taking shape. This took time. This process took a lot of turns and shapes until we are here right now, where we have at least 5 candidates who have been shortlisted for this position. Number 1 is Sheikh Sukian Hassan Omar, Honorable Idris Nyamagosa Nyaboga, Athman Abdul Halim Hussein, Kutua Muhammad Abdallah, Omar Hassan Kinywa are the candidates that have been shortlisted for this position. What is the future without our past? That is why I want to take you down the memory lane and maybe just jog your memory a little bit about how we started this whole conversation about the Kadhi. This is a position that started as an agreement between the Sultanate of Oman and the administration of the country back then to take the 16-kilometer coastal strip, make it part of the country. Then you will be allowed, or the Muslims will be allowed, to have the Chief Kadhi's Court. The Chief Kadhi's Court was about to address personal matters, divorce, marriage, and inheritance. These were the personal status, so they say, as captured in the current constitution, because the Kadhi's Court is as an act of parliament in the current dispensation of the country. Now, tonight, the pick of the Kadhi's Court, that is the Chief Kadhi, is our subject of our discussion tonight. And I'm glad and honored to be joined by Dr. Sheikh Rashid Ali Omar, who is the immediate former Deputy Chief Kadhi, and he has a lot of wealth and experience and information to share with us tonight. Later on, we'll be joined by Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome, who is an advocate of the High Court, and of course, he's also a member of Jamia Majlis Committee. Needless to mention that Dr. Sheikh Hassan Ali Omar is currently still a practitioner within the corridors of justice under the Alternative Dispute Resolution. He is the director and founder of Solhu Consultancy. Sheikh Rashid, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jumbo, thank you so much for making time for us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Naam.
Santithana.
It's been so long since you've been on Horizon TV, particularly on this set. How have you been? Uko salama?
We are very okay.
Mashallah.
Uko salama.
Yes.
Tunaendelea tunasukuma mambo ya dunia.
Happy to see you, Sheikh, as always.
You also. You had me several times.
Naam.
Na nafurahi.
Thank you so much. Sheikh, 2 years ago we had the same conversation. 2 years ago we had the same conversation before the former Chief Kadhi's position, or rather term, to be extended by at least 1 year. We had the same conversation right here on this set with yourself, Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome, and Sheikh Sukian Hassan Omar, who's also being shortlisted for this position. And at that time, the advertisement was outside there and people had applied. Not just that position, but also the position of 15 other Kadhis. Now, it has been advertised at least 3 times. Sheikh, what is your take about the advertisement and the re-advertisement of this particular position? Do you have trust in this process?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala man la nabiyya ba'dahu amma ba'd. The advert, the 3 times advert. The reason for it was, I don't know what is the reason, because the public is supposed to be informed. What is the reason for
Maybe
that?
they didn't get the right candidate for the position. Is it a possibility?
Those who are applied were there, and those guys applied, the ones who are now shortlisted or applied in the 3, but we don't know what has happened. And then the funny part of it is that the responsibilities and duties were fluctuating. How can it happen a government institution, somebody's job has been fluctuating for 3 different times? That these, the responsibilities and the duties of the Chief Kadhi was something which was not mentioned the first time. Second time again, something goes wrong against it. So I don't know. It is the Judicial Service Commission is who knows what is actually the whole thing about it.
As a veteran in the field, maybe what I'd expect is, have you written to them, have you raised questions as a concerned citizen, and more so, retired Deputy Chief Kadhi about this matter?
You know, this is this is an organization, this is an institution, the third arm of the government. And the Judiciary Service Commission are the ones who are supposed to do these things. Besides being a question mark in this matter, what is it? Because nobody can state now why, if maybe, for instance, the first time it was advertised, then they went consultation to Mombasa. Then re-advert was made again for the second time. For the third time, I don't know what again went wrong. The issue is that the first time again, it was stated that the station of the Chief Kadhi will be Nairobi. Then later on, when they went for consultation to Mombasa, public participation, it has been again returned back to Mombasa. Then later in time again, the third one again, it says that it's again Nairobi. So those are some of the issues which needs to be answered by JSC.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair. Shukran sana. Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome, thanks so much for making time for us this evening. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Faisal.
Jazakallah khair. Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome, we're still talking about the aspect of at least this position has been advertised thrice over the span of 2 years, right? And Sheikh is just trying to poke holes in the whole process and identifying some of the possible loopholes. What's your general feeling about the advertisement and re-advertisement of this position?
You know, Faisal, there are certain questions that need to be addressed to the right people.
Yes.
You know, that is a question you should address to the Judicial Service Commission.
Yes.
Because even the former Deputy Chief Kadhi,
yes,
is not part of the Judicial Service Commission. Neither am I. We are outsiders. But of course, it's an issue of concern. And we have been concerned because it is the first time that this is happening. So actually, in the absence of any proper, any credible response,
yes,
we are bound to speculate. So we can speculate, and we are allowed to speculate. For me, more than before, this position now has attracted a lot of attention. You know, before that, people did not pay a lot of attention to this position, and he can bear witness to that. He has been in that position. Dr. served for many years there. I practiced before him and before other Chief Kadhis and Chief Kadhis. It is attracting more and more attention. There is more competition now and the rest. Maybe because of that. Again, the other speculation, remember when there was this advertisement about new positions of the Chief Kadhi, several of them last year. And amongst ourselves as the Muslim community, there were all these divisions. Even people talking about black Muslims. I don't know who are the black Muslims. You heard about that, Doctor? Yeah, they were talking about black Muslims and again. So those wrangles and the rest. So Faisal, one of these days invite the Judicial Service Commission here. They can answer that question. But for me, the speculation is that it's because of the interest and the rest. And again, people are raising a lot of issues about, he knows as a lawyer that within the Constitution, there are so many loopholes in the Constitution, a lot of areas that have been left to interpretation. Yes. Like the station of the Chief Kadhi. Traditionally, it has been Mombasa. But legally, have you seen anything in the Constitution that it has to be in Mombasa? No, it's just been urf. Customarily, the Chief Kadhi's seat has been in Mombasa. But somebody might say, ideally, being the head of the Kadhi's courts, why not in Nairobi? That again is left to interpretation. You know, so there are many things. So that is the answer. I'm
speculating.
Yeah, I'm just speculating.
I understand. Thank you so much for that. And that's why my question, how you framed it, was, what do you think, right?
That is
not what exactly is the matter.
That is what I think.
Thank you so much. Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome, you exumed confidence 2 years ago when you were having this conversation right here on the set with the two of you and Sheikh Sukyan Hassan Omar in a particular Ramadan.
Yes.
You exumed confidence and you expressed that you have full confidence with the process of Chief Kadhi selection in this country. That was then.
Yes.
Is that still your position right now?
It's still my position, because you see, the Kadhi's position is a judicial position. He has been as an employee of the judiciary.
Yes.
And the Constitution is very clear about the process of appointment, and that has not changed. So it's still there. And I'm glad, I know when the Judicial Service Commission sits to vet the Kadhis or those who have been shortlisted,
Yeah.
because they appreciate that they have a shortcoming when it comes to Islamic knowledge. And if you look at the Constitution, Article 170, it says very clearly the qualifications of a Kadhi, because of the nature of the office of the Chief Kadhi or the Kadhi, is a person who is conversant with Islamic law and the various different sects that we have. And not every member of the Judicial Service Commission has that knowledge. And that's why for the last few years, and I ever participated in that process, they would bring in an expert in law, to Sharia law, Sharia, to sit down with them. So actually, the other members of the Judicial Service Commission would be very much concerned about his qualifications in terms of the procedures and the rest.
Yeah.
But when it comes now to the content of Islamic law, they always leave it to the expert that they bring. They always co-opt somebody. So for me, if you ask me about the process, I still have the confidence in the process. I still have the confidence in that process, that if it is followed to the letter, we can still produce a good Kadhi for this, a Chief Kadhi for this country.
Thank you so much. Dr. Can I assume that is your position as well in terms of the process?
Somehow yes, because the Judicial Service Commission integrity was not dented at any given time. And I know these guys, especially three of them, are on the same rank. Sukyan, Athman, and Kutwa. They are senior principal Qadis, where they worked for a long time. Beside maybe other issues which we can say that they define it. Their dispositions, their papers, maybe, and all these things they may differ. And that now leaves for Judicial Service Commission to do it. And manageability. So, that is it, and the position is we don't have doubt in JSC, because JSC is not one person or two persons. I also agree with him that all the judiciary, those people who are at the JSC are not conversant very well with Islamic Sharia, including those who are Muslims. Because they have done some other things.
Okay.
So you can see when I was being interviewed some time back, who was the advocate, Saleh Kanyiki was there. He also was called. So at least experts, we have Sharia and law experts. I think it is time for them to be called, and then not this thing just to be done by people who don't know what is to be asked.
Thank you, thanks so much. There have been a lot of speculation and a lot of doubts around the process and this office, particularly the highest office, Chief Kadhi's position, saying that historically, if I can use, or customarily, if you can use what Sheikh Ibrahim said, what can be perceived as urf, again, I repeat, perceived as urf, that this position is usually reserved to a particular community. But this is the first time in history we are not, quote-unquote, seeing. And this is after, quote-unquote, again, people are saying it is because of the lot of lobbying we see during the political season, from what Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome said, the black Muslims. We've seen lobby groups publicly coming out and saying that, you know, this position is not reserved for a particular people. Do you think this in any way is going to affect the unity of the Muslims all over the country?
First of all, reserving for a particular person or a particular community does not arise. For one reason, maybe we can say area of the jurisdiction of the Chief Kadhi, we can talk about it. But now, the competency, if a Kadhi who has served for a long time, who has actually the required, because they will be marking, everybody will be marking for them. And then he becomes the first person.
Yeah.
I think it is injustice to say that this should be preserved for one community. And because it is competency and the impartiality and the work to be done.
Yeah.
So for you to say that actually this thing is preserved for one community, people can talk about the station of the Chief Kadhi, where my colleague said that there are loopholes. And in my view, the traditional, when that happens and there's loophole in law, the traditional will have been adopted. There's no difference.
Okay.
So that is my position. And still, I hope that it will be Mombasa, the way I feel it, because it will bring more divisions between the Muslims, more division and divorce. So it doesn't make anything, because the Chief Kadhi is a chief magistrate.
No.
And just it is the name when it was there in Mombasa. Now he's just a judicial officer. There's no difference between him and the other Kadhis.
Thank you so much for that.
It is only the name.
No. Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome, I'd like your way in on this matter, please.
First of all, as Dr. said here, the former Deputy Chief Kadhi, there is nothing reserved for anybody. It's very clear. Anybody who is qualified, that person could be from Turkana. Yes. And for me, this is the beauty of it all. You know, we are coming from a history.
Yeah.
We are coming from a history whereby the most educated and knowledgeable Muslims are from certain communities. But we have moved away from that.
Yes.
We have Kadhis during his tenure, and he was so happy. I remember, I can bear witness to him. He was very happy when we first had a Masai Kadhi. He was so happy. And then a Turkana Kadhi, and then a Kikuyu. That was not there before.
Yes.
Actually, one would have been forgiven to say that it is a preserve from the people from the coast. Because even people from Northeastern, it was a little bit later. Now, people are knowledgeable. Muslims are all over the country. Actually, I'd be so happy to see a Chief Kadhi, if not now, in the near future, from Turkana. You know, it's not a preserve of anybody. Or a Masai, actually, why not? So, it's not a preserve of anybody. Of course, we have, and Kenyans, as Muslims in this country, we have to move away from that. Just like the Waqf Commission. Before that, before the amendment of the Act, the Waqf Commission's jurisdiction was only within the coastal region. Muslims are all over the country. Now, the process has begun to appoint new commissioners. The Act is so clear. We want to see the face of Muslims in the whole country. So that is it. Then there is one thing I would like to caution Muslims here. This language of black Muslims and white Muslims. Let's remember the warning from the Prophet ﷺ about al-qabaliyah. Da'uha fa'innaha muntina. Leave it. And Faisal, we want to take this opportunity to tell Muslims who are listening to this program, can we move away from jahiliyyah? That is da'wah to jahiliyyah. Talking about tribe. I would even quote Nyerere. Nyerere alisema, in this time and age, and for him he was speaking for political reasons, mnazungumzia habari ya ukabila. Kwani mnaenda kutambika? Because that is the only job left for ukabila. And for Muslims, we should not be. So I would like actually to condemn anybody talking about tribal, this tribe or that tribe. We are Muslim, innama al-mu'minuna ikhwa, da'ul qabaliyah fa innaha muntina. Stop this issue of that community or this community. We should stop it. So, can we have the best qualified person to be a Chief Kadhi? Just as he said.
Thanks so much. And that's said that you have full trust and about the whole process since it started. We are hoping that we're going to get the best Chief Kadhi, inshallah, the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for us. Remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing will ever happen until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees. But we're going to go for a very short break. But when we're back, we want to see what are some of the achievements that have been made by this office of the Chief Kadhi or the Deputy Chief Kadhi, so to speak, and what are the expectations. I have some questions from you. If you still haven't asked your question, our WhatsApp numbers are scrolling down your screen right now. We're also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. You can also ask your question on the comment section and we'll be able to ask our panelists tonight. So this and much more after the break.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation. Verse of the day.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
المال والبنون زينة الحياة الدنيا والباقيات الصالحات خير عند ربك ثوابا وخير أملا.
Uislamu ni dini yenye mpangilio ulio kamili na taratibu zake humpa fursa kila mja kuifahamu na kuelewa.
Muislamu yoyote lazima achukue jukumu la kuifahamu dini yake, kuanzia kwenye shahada ashhadu, nakiri kwa moyo,
kisha usafi wa kimwili.
Hapo ndipo huanza safari ya kumwabudu Mola wake.
Usikose kujiunga nasi kila siku ya Jumamosi live kwenye kipindi Ufahamu Uislamu, ili ujifunze mengi usiyojua kutoka Horizon TV.
News is about facts, and here on the Muslim Insight, we go beyond the headlines.
The Kadhis, apart from being judicial officials, they are also critical members of our society.
We look at all the angles of the story as we bring stories that matter to you.
I am totally convinced generations to come will have the office of the Chief Kadhi.
Join us on the Muslim Insight as we bring you the weekly news recap.
Enzi za wakati wa kumsema ati alisema akasisitiza akihutubia wanahabari, enzi hizo hazipo tena.
Every Friday from 8 a.m. only on Horizon TV.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks so much for keeping it live. We are having a conversation, and my very able producer Aban back there, Sante Sana, for taking us on a break. And now we are back. We're having good conversation still on the subject matter, and now looking into the roles and the functions of the Chief Kadhi. What has been done before? What has been there historically? What is anchored in the Constitution vis-a-vis what is expected? Customarily, traditionally, the Chief Kadhi position, before, way much before even Kenya's independence and the new constitution, was perceived to be the leader of the Muslims and the voice of authority for as far as the Muslim voice is concerned. But the recent advertisement has sparked different reactions, especially from the legal brains within the Muslim community, having known what's anchored in the Constitution and what has been advertised. Now, Sheikh, before we get into actually the functions of the Chief Kadhi, let's look at first historically some of the achievements that have been made. For example, upgrading the number of the Chief Kadhis in the recent, increasing the number of Kadhis. Not Chief Kadhis. Increasing the number of the Kadhis in this country. Until right now, we have 56 Kadhis in the country.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. These are some of the achievements that have been made, correct? Yeah. We've had at least the office of the Kadhi to gain some respect and issuing orders that have been, being followed and adhered to, respectfully. So what are some of your expectations with this, the upcoming Kadhi, before we look at what's been advertised and what's anchored in the Constitution?
Faisal, you're very right when you say that there has been a lot of development and progress in terms of the Kadhi's courts. I remember when I started practicing myself, I knew almost every Kadhi in this country because there were only 17. Actually, when I started practicing, you people were only 17. And I could tell every Kadhi, I could know. Now, all of a sudden, we have this number. Now, I know somebody might say here, because you're asking about the achievements of the office of the Chief Kadhi. Daktari will tell you here Those are the efforts by the Chief Justice. And in consultation with their offices, including his office. I know he did a lot. Even developing the rules of procedure, they did that in consultation. So there have been a lot of achievements. Of course, there's been more education now. The Muslims now are more, I know more about what the jurisdiction of the Qadhi's courts is. I started practicing before the Qadhi's courts when Sheikh Hamad actually was the deputy here, and Sheikh Al-Marhum Nahdi was the Chief Kadhi. At a time when even some of the lawyers, they thought that this is not a real court. They used to call them a kangaroo court.
Kangaroo court, yeah.
Because they did not appreciate, until some of them, like him, because I know if you played with his orders, he would even issue warrants of arrest and make sure that his orders are executed and they are followed. So thanks to some of those Qadhis who asserted the authority that has always been there in the Constitution and in the Act, but it was not practiced. So with time, now we see now the Qadhi's court is more respected. The Chief Qadhi's office is also more respected. Even without looking at the changes in the law as it was before the amendments, I think it all depended on the personalities sitting in that office. Like, as we grew up as small children, the Chief Kadhi that all of us knew and respected within the Muslim community and outside was Al-Marhum Sheikh Saleh Al-Farisi, Abdullah Saleh Al-Farisi, Allah yarhamu. Okay? That his personality made that office grow, respected all over. Okay? I don't want to talk about the other Chief Kadhis that came after him, but he stands out of the crowd. And he made sure that this office is respected.
He was a voice of authority.
Yes, a voice of authority. Then the other thing is that, remember, by virtue of being a Chief Kadhi, you are a scholar. Because actually, if you're not a Muslim scholar, I don't think you qualify to be in that office. You have to be a Muslim religious scholar. Okay? So by virtue of that scholarship, then you find that they have other roles that they play outside there. So you find that they are invited to talk to Muslims in different factions and the rest. I don't want to go in that direction, but those have been their achievements. And we want to thank the government of Kenya and the judiciary for appreciating that the number of Muslims have grown. And that's why there was the need of
expanding the whole
and increasing. Because the constitution talks about the minimum only. Yeah. 3. The Chief Kadhi and Kadhis not less than 3.
3, yes.
Okay? The minimum, the maximum is not there. So thanks to some of the Chief Justices that were there, who appreciated that the Muslim community has grown and there is need for more Qadhis because the services are required. When he was in Nairobi here, it was so crowded. The court was so crowded and he was alone. Those who came after him, they're lucky. You find 2 Qadhis. A Qadhi from Kibra will come and sit there with the Qadhi sitting there. So the need, and now, alhamdulillah.
There are 3.
Now they are 3. He's telling me now there are 3. It's because
in
of
the
the
station
need.
there are 2 and then there's one in Kibra.
Yeah, so, we want to thank the judiciary for appreciating that, and we want more because the Muslim population has grown and the need for the Qadhi's courts is even more.
That's expectation for the new Chief Kadhi?
Yes, yes.
To increase the number?
Increase the number and also assert his authority as a judicial officer and make sure that his orders are respected, just like any other court. That is my expectation of the new Chief Kadhi.
Sheikh Rashid, what's your expectation after this achievement that we've seen? Of course, some that have been attributed to you. We've had it here firsthand from Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome. What's your expectation now of the new Chief Kadhi moving forward?
Actually, the Kadhi's court was evolving, just like any other institutions. Though its evolvement was actually very, it was actually not going faster. Now, judiciary transformation has actually engineered why the Qadhi's court should be expanded. And KMJ, Kenya Magistrates and Judge Association, when I was the Vice Secretary General, with the CJ now being the chief, being the president, we tried, and the present Chief Justice was also pushing for the same. The other members, we started from there actually, so that the Qadhi's courts will be expanded and reformed. I'm thankful to the current Chief Justice. Everything I tell her on this matter, and then we write to the JSC and judiciary, she was very positive. Beside that, there were also some members. Actually, whatsoever the Kadhi's court, previously, before me, there was nobody in the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association. And there we were forgotten. When I joined, and up to today now, we have 2 members in Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association. We pushed for it. And then, thanks to the Chief Justice, Willie, he was also very accommodative. He did most of this work. Whatsoever we bring to him, the need for the Kadhis, he has accepted, and that's what we expanded. And that is the time the office of, there was an interview for the office of the Deputy Chief Kadhi. He wanted this office to be actually established. He left it, but still this office is not in the establishment of Kadhi's court.
It has not yet fully taken shape. Now let's look at the advertisement about the, for the position of the Chief Kadhi that has sparked different reactions amongst the legal minds within the community. And some of the people are saying that there are roles that have been assigned or have been advertised or part of the advertisement that constitutionally they are not anchored. Sheikh Ibrahim, Lethome, I'll let you go first on that.
One thing that has to be very clear, the roles of the Chief Kadhi and any other Kadhi, as per the law, should be distinguished from the role, the roles that they have been given as by virtue of them being scholars in the Muslim community and also considered as leaders within the Muslim communities. We need to separate the two. Unfortunately, if you look at the advert, which is here with us, there is a mix between the two. Let me pick out the clear judicial functions of the Chief Kadhi, which are very clear. He's a judicial officer, so preside over matters within his court, matters to do with Muslim personal laws, which is very clear. That is marriage, divorce, Muslim personal matters, marriage, divorce,
personal
succession, okay? And for me, I say, and any other related matter. And I'm saying this deliberately. You know why? And he knows why. Some of the Kadhis, unfortunately,
because of the children's matter,
instead of allowing the jurisprudence of the Kadhis courts to grow, they limit it. And I'm saying it here without any fear of contradiction. Even matters on the custody of children and the rest. Children that are a product of an Islamic marriage, the Kadhi has jurisdiction. And it is on record. When Sheikh Ahmad was the Kadhi here in Nairobi, do you know that he presided over a matter of burial of a prominent council, a Muslim who died, and the family wanted to bury him in a Christian way? We went to the Kadhi's courts, he gave orders, he said, burial is a personal matter. He said the Muslim can bury him. Somebody rushed to the High Court and got a stay of that order. 6 months later, the High Court upheld the ruling by the Kadhi. Say burial. So I want to appeal even to the new Kadhi, please don't stifle the jurisdiction of the court. He likes using the word jurisprudence of the court. I know he likes using, you know, he's a scholar. Let it expand, let it grow. So that matter. Now, that is very clear. Judicial office with judicial functions clearly laid out in the Constitution and in the Act. Then we come now to the other functions. Sighting of the moon. And I've seen it here.
Yeah.
And he was shocked also. He was shaking his head when
it's part of the advertisement, actually, yeah.
And he said, sighting of the moon as a jurisdiction of the Kadhi's court? No. But customarily, and I want to accept that, because in Sharia, we are told urf is also accepted. Customs, practice is accepted. But you cannot put it here as one of the functions of the Kadhi's courts.
Because they'll be held accountable on that.
These other functions, actually we can ask him performance. What have you performed on this one? But on the sighting of the moon, we cannot ask him to account for that. It is a position that we have given to him by virtue of his position there, and customarily that has been happening. Then arbitration.
Oh my gosh. Again,
arbitration is not part of his judicial functions. So we need to separate between his functions and the rest. We invite the Kadhis here to come and give khutbah. Can you say part of the function is to come and address Muslims? No.
Cannot be that.
It is, we give him that by virtue of him being a scholar. Because every Kadhi, and most of the Chief Kadhi, he is there because he qualified on the basis of his scholarship as a Muslim scholar. So we have given them those functions. They have to be clear. And I'll be surprised if somebody goes there during the interview and he'll be asked about the controversies around the sighting of the moon. You know, and I want to cite here the just retired Chief Kadhi. Actually, he was asked, if there are any changes you'd like to see in this office, what are they? He said, I would want the issue of the moon to be removed from the office. Then the other members of the Judicial Service Commission, the judges of the High Court, they told the Court of Appeal and the High Court, they told him, I was sitting there. No. You know, customarily, that role has been there. We don't want to remove it. It is silent. It should remain silent. That's what I want to say.
But now they've pronounced it.
Well,
Just
now, Doctor.
yes, customary issue should be there. But now the other issue which will arise out of that is if the judiciary officers have said JSC, customarily the station of the Chief Kadhi was Mombasa. Why should it be removed from there? This is a question which will be asked at JSC. Besides that, the issue of arbitration, here it is written, arbitration of disputes on inheritance. The person who have written those things might not know, actually, because a judicial officer is not an arbitrator.
Yeah.
He is an educator. He educates between cases, between litigants. And then arbitration is a private process. An arbitrator is supposed also to be registered with Chartered Institute of Arbitrators.
Yes.
Now, how can you say a Kadhi must arbitrate? And then if you are an arbitrator, what will happen later on when it comes for litigation, the same issue? Yeah. And then the other thing, he doesn't supervise, the Chief Kadhi does not supervise all the Kadhis. The supervision of all the Kadhis, he only supervises the staffs and the judicial officers who are under him. But each court is just like the other courts. So he cannot supervise all the Kadhi's court. How does he supervise? And then we have registrar's office, which also we have a Kadhi who is actually a deputy registrar there. So that one was erroneously made, and arbitration was made. Sighting of the moon by the Kadhis have caused a lot of problems. It caused us. It even put our standard very low, whereas people insult Kadhis. So according to me, that one was also erroneous, and this must go to other Muslim institutions. According to, even if we say Jamia Mosque or where Muslims meet together and they form, we had some times back a Crescent Observation Committee. Let us have something like that one and remove this thing from Kadhi's court. It has been dented. So therefore, the responsibilities, those ones were erroneously put, and whoever put, I think, these things was quite wrong.
This is a mistake that has been made by the Judicial Service Commission. Both of you are experienced on matters law, both Islamically and, of course, the conventional law. Have you thought about possibly writing to the JSC about some of these loopholes or some of these problems that may be brewing from the particular advertisement and what may result from it? Start with you, Sheikh Ibrahim.
Okay, personally, now you've pinned me down. Actually, we have not raised it formally, because actually for me, when I looked at the advertisement, I said this is now the job of the JSC, but rightly we are supposed to correct them. And there are so many things that we need to correct. Actually, when it comes to Islamic law in this country, there are a lot of things that need to be corrected. He will tell you there is something called Mohammedan laws. Here, in all my studies of Sharia, I never came across anything called a Sharia to Muhammadiyah. We don't have anything like Mohammedan law. It's Islamic law. So some of the legacies that were left by the colonialists and some of the terminology that they were using, I think we need to look at them and see how those can be corrected. So you're right, actually. Maybe that is a shortcoming on our part. We need to address it, because some of them, it could be out of I will not say ignorance, because these are very knowledgeable people up there, but maybe we just assume that because they have been doing this, it's part of their duty. But actually this needs to be corrected. And especially as the Muslim community grows in this country, as the court expands and the rest, I think I would want to see a time when the Kadhi, the Chief Kadhi, would be left to do the judicial work. The other things, actually, it's opening doors for him to be insulted and the rest. And you know, that compromises his position as an arbiter. No, not as an arbiter, adjudicator. Sorry, again, terminology here again. As an adjudicator. Because at one time, your name is there in the Rangos about the moon sighting. Then the same people who you are wrangling with, now they appear before you with a case. Can you see?
Yeah.
So I think, but that will take, for me, let it be gradual, let it not be abrupt, because the community has been used to certain things. But slowly, I think we need to separate between the two roles. The role of the Chief Kadhi as a judicial officer clearly
stipulated in the Constitution.
and
so we go by that.
Yes, but slowly, I said gradually.
To add on that,
yes,
it is not gradual. Chunga, Bernard Chunga, around 2001, was it 2001, wrote to the Kadhis because of them involving in social matters. It was there, can you keep off? I think it can go back, if the Chief Justice will go back to that one. He said that the Kadhis, addressed to all the Kadhis, can you put off social matters and other matters and stick to actually what you are employed for, which is now the jurisdiction which has been given by Article 175 and Kadhis Act, Section 5. That was very clear. It was a circular he has given it. And by then I was in Yeri, I got it. And then we have to stop now going interfering with social matters. Did
you stop giving khutbas in the mosque?
I don't give khutbas, I stopped.
But after that?
Most of the time, yes.
Oh, okay.
Because of that? Because of that?
I think I give lectures of Islamic matters, but I never give any khutbah.
Oh, in the mosque.
Apart from Eid khutbas? Apart from Eid khutbas?
I don't give even khutbas, I just talk and address before that one.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
But whatsoever it was,
yes.
Once he has said that one, that is the position. I agree with my brother that judicial function is a judicial function. And you are being given, it has been specified by the law. Going out of it means you are going out of the code of conduct of judicial officers. Period.
So we stick to what's been anchored in the Constitution?
Yes.
Anything else?
And the judicial code of conduct.
Judicial code of conduct. Thank you so much. Because of time, I'll start taking your parting shot. Sheikh Ibrahim, Lethome, let's start with you before you come to our elder.
My parting shot is this. This is an appeal to the Muslim community. The process should not be a reason for us to be divided. Actually, at the end of the day, let us have the most qualified person to take that position. And we want to thank the judiciary and the government of Kenya, and also our constitution guarantees and has anchored that position in the constitution. Let us not look at tribe, where the person comes from, the most qualified person. I think let that person take that position. Can we remain united also? Can we also remain united also on other appointments that the Muslims are getting within the government of Kenya? For example, first of all, we want to congratulate our brother Nuruddin for the appointment that he has gotten from the president. And we know the achievements that he made as a DPP. And for the first time in this country, we are going to have a Director General, and we are praying that he goes through the remaining part of the process, a Director General of the National Security Intelligence Services who has grown through the ranks. The first time in the history. Look at all those who have been heading that institution. These are people who have come from other organs of security. But this is a person who has grown through the ranks up to that position. So we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he's able to go through that. Again, there is another process going on. People don't know. The commission, the work of commission, the appointment of the work of commission.
Yes.
Again, I'm appealing to my brother Muslims.
Yes.
Pwani, Masai, Kikuyu, Somali, please, can we be united here?
We're going to talk about it. Inshallah, we're waiting for the committee first to take shape.
Yes.
And then now when it's time to select the commissioners, I'm going to invite you because I mean you have a wealth of experience on that matter as well.
So we want Muslims to remain united, and all of us will stand behind the best man, and I'm saying the best man very deliberately, to be appointed as the next Chief Kadhi of this country. And I'm challenging him, ittaqillah, fear Allah, whoever you'll be. Unite the Muslims. Don't be a reason for Muslims to be divided. Back to you, Faisal.
Thank you so much. Sheikh Rashid Ali Omar, as you're giving your parting shot, I want you to also touch on the appellate system of the Kadhis. Just as you're giving your parting shot, very briefly.
The appellate system of the court.
Because you spoke about it before the show. So I just want you to, and in this context, what role can the Muslims play in the process that you're doing right now?
Now, first of all, I want to agree with my brother and congratulate my brother, and he deserves it, Nuruddin Haji, because his father has dedicated for this country. for a long time, until his death. He was a patriot. And everybody knows, he started when he was young. During the British colonial, he was an assistant in El-Wak somewhere. And all over he grew, he came about. He has taught also his children, he was working for them. So you see now, is a family that has done a lot for this country. That has done a lot for his country. Mzee, while he was sick, you know what he was doing for the country. And may God rest his soul in paradise, inshallah. Amen. And we know the competency of Nuruddin, inshallah, he will be doing well. Anybody who thinks he cannot, or whatsoever, I think maybe it is because of nepotism. So for the Qadhi's jurisdiction, still the law, the Qadhi's jurisdiction, the Qadhi's High Court, we have a problem. I mean the High Court of Kenya. There are two variant schools that instead of looking into the Islamic law, that since this is the law, the evidence, rules and evidence is very clear, which is applied in Qadhi's court is that of Islam. It goes to High Court, Children's Court, or any other matter, then they look into the other laws, because they don't know this law. So, and the judges, High Court judges needs to be educated on Islamic law pertaining to personal status, marriage, because marriage is not only marriage per se, and the divorce. Because the children's matters auxiliary, when you look into the Islamic fiqh, Sheikh knows, it is one of section of divorce. Then, beside that one, I want to be very categorical and very happy to say that we have started a draft of Qadhi's Court, new Qadhi's Act. The Archaic Act, which I was talking about it since 1995, is still there with us. And it should be changed because it talks nothing. It is ambiguous in nature. Now there is a big draft already being made by, it has been drafted by some Qadhis and me, and now we will go and it will go to the Qadhis, then Muslim professionals like my brother here at the council and all the other councils. And I am happy that most of the JSC commissioners are welcoming. Others are even pushing, saying bring it. So it will, what he was talking about is all over there, it is there. So, exactly. And once it is out, it is about many pages. It is not this leaflet that you have there and does
4 pages. The Qadhi's Court Act is 4 pages. The one we inherited from the colonialists.
That is still in existence until today.
Yes.
Yes, you're gasping when he was...
Yeah, about the appellate. Because, you know, as a person who practiced before them, and the concerns, Faisal, are very genuine. You go before a Qadhi or a Chief Kadhi, you're just talking about Qala Allah wa Qala Rasul. Okay? Islamic substantial law. That is what you're discussing. Then on technicalities, there is an appeal. You go to the High Court. Then the Islamic law is totally ignored now, and you are subjected now to a new set of substantive law. It's very unfair. And that's why, even during the appeal, we should not just focus on the technicalities. Can we focus also on matters of Islamic law? And that's why.
Merits of the case.
The merits of the, and also the law itself, the Islamic law itself has to be looked, because the trial court was guided by Islamic law. You know, that is the substantive law applicable at the Qadhi's court. When you come for the appeal, this is all ignored. Actually, it's a mockery, if you ask me. You know, it's a mockery that now we forget about the Islamic law.
We focus on the substantive law.
No, we focus now on the other laws, and mostly we are guided by technicalities. And he'll tell you, anybody who is conversant with the Qadhi's court and Sharia, how it operates, it's not mostly a technical court. It is a fact-finding court, and it is strictly guided by Islamic law. And that's why, if you look at the qualifications of the Qadhi, why do you think it's one of the qualifications is must be a Muslim? A person who does not only know law, Islamic law, as an academic field, you believe in it.
And practices.
When you tell them, Qala Allahu Ta'ala, he knows exactly what that means. Okay?
Yeah.
When you tell them, al-bayyinatu al-mudda'i wal-yaminu ala man ankara, that the evidence is upon the person who claims, and the person who denies, you just need to say no. he knows exactly what that means because it's part of his faith. That's why you cannot separate this court from the faith of the person again. But that does not make it as a religious court. It's a Sharia court. Thank you
so much.
Add on top of it 1 minute.
Please, make it a few seconds.
Few seconds.
We need another day for this.
This issue which you are talking about.
Yes.
Of, personal status. There is a big ruling of about 17 pages I made about these things. It is not the way people think. And it is 4, it is not 3. Personal status is different from marriage, from divorce and inheritance. It has meaning in Islamic law, ahwalu shakhsiyah. It goes even to burial. Waqf is also there. And now I think we have put it, in this new draft, that what is personal status. And that ruling which I made has actually stated, specified. In Kenyan system, in Kenyan law, there is no scope, definition of a scope in personal status at all. It is not. They borrow it from Black Law Dictionary, which is from outside. But we, in Islamic law, personal status is very clear.
It is captured in the Sharia. It is anchored in the Sharia.
We expect, and now I wish best for any Chief Kadhi who is going to be appointed.
Inshallah.
Will be supporting.
Inshallah.
And I hope it will be very impartial. It will be actually done honestly. And I say all of them are competent. One is a don in the university, done a lot of Islamic. The others have been in judiciary for many years. And we wish them well in their interview. Though I was wondering, the date for their interview was not mentioned.
I think they'll be communicated to, inshallah.
Yeah, I
hoping
think so.
that is going to be, the whole process is going to be...
The two registrars, you mentioned it and you jump from it. I think there are a lot of mistakes here.
Yeah, we are going, as Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome said, that this needs a whole other show, inshallah, that will definitely
1 hour
talk
is not
to the
enough
production
for
team.
this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much still for making time for us this evening. And I mean, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we need to bring the curtains down because time is not on our side. Exactly 7 minutes past top of the hour, and we have nothing else to say than thank you so much for being part and parcel of us, and apologies for not reading some of your questions, even your comments. Apologies. As you clearly saw, we did not have enough time. See you next time, same place, same time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Horizon TV, the beacon for the nation.